What is going on, everyone? One Creative Tech here, and today we're going to be talking about how making good design is a lot like making good cat food. Now I know that sounds super weird, but hear me out. A couple of years ago, I'm thinking probably over a decade now, there was this one video on YouTube that kind of made the round, especially in the design and agency world and all of that. And the video basically had this one guy that was explaining that making good design is much like making good cat food. Now, if any one of you all have seen it, if you can just go ahead and throw that link down below, that would be fantastic if you know what I'm talking about. I haven't found it. Anyway, he described how if you're going to make good cat food, you have to pay attention to what the cat actually wants, right? So you wouldn't necessarily take into consideration what the cat owner wants. You wouldn't take into consideration what you yourself want, but you might take into consideration what cats generally want. And the point that he was trying to illustrate is that in order for you to do anything for the cat, you need to take the cat into account and the cat's needs into account, which is essentially user-centered design. Now, at the time, if it existed, I didn't know about it, but the whole concept of design thinking wasn't necessarily laid out and distributed in the same way that it is today. But that's basically what he was describing. Thing is, the cat food analogy is something that I use with my clients all the time just to make it easier for them to remember specifically what it is that we will be doing at each phase of the project. Now let me explain. With design thinking, you have the empathy stage, you have the define stage, ideate, prototype, and test. It's very much the same with making cat food, and I'll create these parallels momentarily, right? So the very beginning, when you're creating empathy, you're thinking about the cat, the types of things that the cat likes and wants, nutritionally, hopefully the stuff that it needs as well, right? You think about all that stuff, you put yourself in the shoes or boots, I don't know, of the cat. You then move on to the definition part. So what are these things, right? So you have, I don't know, fish and meat and a variety of other things. Equally important is what they don't like, right? Okra, right? Asparagus maybe, unless you have a weird cat. And then you take these ingredients and you make a recipe. You write out a recipe, right? And eventually you take that recipe, you cook it, and then you test it with the cat. You see, it makes it a lot easier than to think, oh, we need to empathize, we need to create, define this list of things and ideate and prototype and test. Clients can get lost in some of that stuff. To you, it might be a natural thing, but to them, it's not. And it might be the first time they're hearing it. But they certainly know a little bit more about cats than they might about design thinking. So again, real easy parallel. Real easy parallel. You have empathy for the cat, the types of things the cat might want. You take those things, you write out recipes, you take those recipes, you cook them, and you put them out. Now, going all the way back, we're gonna go through the actual design thinking process. Empathy, you're doing exactly that. You're running through a variety of user interviews. You're doing stakeholder interviews as well. Now, it's not to get necessarily their taste, it's to get their goals, right? And their goals should be focused on their cat or their users. You're gonna run through the types of things, the types of tasks that your user is going to want to complete by using your tools. You draw out workflows based on those things that your user is going to want to complete or needs to get done, et cetera, et cetera. You work out the workflows, you work out a prototype that takes into account all of these workflows and journeys, and then you test it. From these tests, you can always end up coming back and iterating on either the base assumptions, so that list of defined things that the user wants to do, or, which is more likely, you're probably going to have to redo something in your recipe, which you will then prototype and then eventually end up taking back out to testing. So It's just a really quick tip for you, and again, especially your client, to be able to remember specifically which stage it is that you're in. And if nothing else, honestly, it just makes the entire process just a little bit more fun instead of talking about things so rigidly. If you enjoyed this video, there is plenty more that will be coming up just like it. So this is ta-ta for now. Till next time.